Joining me now from Titusville, Florida, National Director of Priests for Life, Father Frank Pavone. Welcome to the program today, Father Frank Pavone. So let me ask you this. When election season rolls around, how do you manage the Democrat Party's stance on issues like religious freedom and abortion?
Well, thanks for having me. And we have to manage them with honesty. We have to, first of all, demand that they be honest. One of the things I find is that those who defend abortion never describe abortion. Joe Biden and the Democrat Party are saying no restrictions whatsoever on abortion. They won't even protect babies born alive after a failed abortion. Now, this is obviously not only contradictory to Catholic faith, it's contradictory to the very meaning of public service and the principles that America was based on. So be honest with the people you're trying to appeal to. Having a photo op with the Pope, all that means is that the camera worked. It doesn't mean that the Pope endorses everything that you say. When you ask the Pope or you ask those nuns about abortion on demand without restrictions, they're going to give you a pretty clear answer. They need to be clear with the voters, too.
And that's not something you're seeing in these ads that they're putting out there. So are you concerned with what sort of challenges voters might be facing in their daily lives if Joe Biden does get elected in November?
Well, it's very close to home because, it wasn't only the Little Sisters of the Poor. It was us at Priests for Life. And in fact, it was many other, not only Catholic, but Christian and morally motivated American employers who had to fight all the way to the Supreme Court during the Obama-Biden administration just to practice our faith in the workplace. Faith is not just something we practice in church on Sundays. It's at work on Mondays, and that's where they are interfering. They literally put us in a position, and Joe Biden said he would put this back to exactly the way it was before, that we had to choose between following our faith and following the law. So we said, we're going to follow our faith, and we had to fight it all the way up to the court. And only the election of President Trump changed that for us because he knows how to protect our religious freedom, and he in fact did that.
Well, and it's interesting that you point to that. So a lot of the president's critics have pointed to the fact that he likes to put on a show. One of the biggest examples that's been floated around recently is him standing in front of the church in D.C. holding a Bible, saying that was just all an act, that he's not really a man of faith. But do you think his actions speak differently to that?
Oh, it's not a show at all. He's actually doing things to protect our freedom, namely the one example I just gave. But for us as clergy, he has stopped enforcement of the Johnson Amendment. In other words, he has enabled us to be more free to preach the word of God. He has done countless things to make it easier for ministries of faith like ours to interact with the government, to do our work. Under the Obama administration, there were all kinds of hoops we had to go through that, again, made us feel like we were second-class citizens because we held to faith in pro-life or our beliefs in other matters of morality. President Trump has made it easier. So it's not, when President Trump stands there with the Bible, it's because not only does he believe it, but he's putting policies into practice that makes life easier for those who believe it. It's not a show at all. If anything is a show, it's Biden with the nuns and with the Pope, whose very teachings he rejects by his public policy positions.
And speaking of that as well, so one of the main pillars of the president's campaign and re-election campaign for that matter, he and Vice President Mike Pence are staunch supporters of freedom of religion, freedom of liberty, getting to express your beliefs, whether you're in school and work, and being protected to do such a thing and live your life that way, essentially. That's something that's very important to them. They've made that a central pillar of their campaign. At the same time, though, we're still seeing cases pop up like this recent one out of Iowa, a professor at Iowa State University banning students from her classroom from expressing support for the pro-life movement. How is this still happening? And do you think that there still needs to be some work in this area in order to stop these instances from popping up?
There does need to be more work, and the good news is President Trump is doing that work, which is why it's so important that he stays in office. He has issued executive orders making it easier for students on campus to express their views. He's told these colleges, you want federal funds? You better protect the First Amendment freedom of speech on campus. And, he's doing it also by appointing the right kind of judges who are going to defend free speech and religious freedom. So, and the reason these things happen, that you would have a professor say you can't speak about abortion, is, again, the extreme position that the Democrat Party places on abortion now, they're looking at it as a fundamental right on the level of freedom of speech, so that they look at someone who speaks against abortion like somebody who speaks against the women's right to vote or racial equality. You know, it's because they see it in that extreme light, which not even Roe v. Wade said it was so absolute a right, that they can then be so against choice when it comes to our right to speak against it.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube, and call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.